Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I have selected a paragraph from the book called Jawahir Mawjood Bazam Mafqood, the existing jewels but missing. And I'm going to explain it as much as I could. First of all, the name of the book, why it's called the existing jewels but missing. As you know, jewels are most precious and expensive things in an individual's life or in our world. Jewels consist of things like pieces of diamond, gold, and other minerals. So anytime we can use them for ornaments, fashion, and whenever we wish we can exchange it with dollars. That's why they are so precious in our lives. And the book, when it says jewels, it refers to spiritual or inner jewels, the jewels within ourselves. So within our bodies, we have also precious components that are spiritual, that are invisible to the naked eye, but they exist. They are, however, much more precious and infinitely more valuable than the jewels in our worldly life. An example of it would be that everything in our world has a lifespan, including our own bodies. And even our own earth has a lifespan, and it will perish. Obviously, after our bodies have perished, our world has perished, the jewels that came from this world will also annihilate. The jewels within ourselves, however, never perish, are everlasting. So that's at least one big difference. And there are many other differences. So we will refer to the names of these jewels, and we will discuss why they're so valuable. But the book also says they exist, but they are missing. It means that as much as attention we have paid to the jewels in our worldly life, we have ignored the jewels within ourselves. We have not paid attention to the value of these jewels within ourselves. As a result, they have kind of disappeared and they are missing. Okay, now to the paragraph that I have chosen from this book. The book says that in the box of the human body, there exists a component from the upper world and another component from the inferior world. The component from the upper world called the soul. The component from the inferior world called the ego. Okay, first we called it the box of the human body. A few words on this word. As you know, the humans are known to us as this person, that person. We know them by their profession, by how much property they own, by their social status, political position they are holding, and so on. And we value the humans accordingly. From the spiritual aspect and from this book's vernacular, seen in observing the humans, it refers to humans as boxes. As you know, boxes are of same value, because if you put 2-3 boxes in front of me, I cannot tell the difference and cannot tell you which one is more valuable than the other, unless I discover what's within the boxes. The content of the boxes is hidden from me. For example, one box could contain clothes, the other box could contain gold and diamond. So the one box is a lot more valuable than the other. So therefore we dig into the box of the human body and we see and find out what components make the human a human or make us behave the way we behave. So now let's get to the content of this box of the human body. We just say that the box of the human body has one component from the upper world called soul. So we know that the body contains its soul that keeps the body alive and active all its senses. But the origin of something gives us a lot of information about that thing. And as we mentioned, we said one component from the upper world. So immediately, this is like a catching word, that upper world. It tells us that even though we appear to be earthly creatures and we have known ourselves or other human beings to have been born from their mothers, but the component that keeps us alive and active in our worldly life has come from upper world. And we mentioned that there is another component from the lower world in our body called the ego. Immediately you see that the two words contradict each other: upper world, lower world. Obviously, something from the upper world has the upper world's characteristics. Something originating from the lower world has characteristics and properties of the lower world. So, because one component is from the upper world and another component from the lower world in the same box, they are contradicting each other. One is trying to pull the box of the human body towards the upper world, the other one constantly trying to pull this box of the human body towards a lower world. It means that the force that has emanated from the upper world constantly trying to make this body or the human being himself behave heavenly, behave similar to an angel, behave politely, nicely, honestly, and exhibit great qualities. So that by behaving this way, it can develop upper world's qualities within this box. So this is obvious, and this is good news. But the point is that the component that has come from the lower world will constantly and relentlessly oppose the behavior of the force that has come from the upper world. In other words, the component that has come from the lower world, or the ego, is constantly and, like I mentioned, relentlessly trying and making efforts to make the human behave worldly, materially, and try to acquire worldly properties through legal or illegal ways, through legitimate and illegitimate ways. So that this component from the lower world also occupies this box and makes this human behave very bad and behave fully materially. So if there was one force, then the human body or the human himself would have been one-dimensional. He would have behaved either heavenly or worldly. But the point we are making here, in our viewpoint here, the way we look at this human being from the viewpoint of this paragraph of this book, is that the two forces behave in opposite directions. Therefore, this body constantly experiencing contentions. So the body of every human constantly experiencing contentions. So I wish this was all there was, but there is more than that. There is a creature called angel or farishta. So this creature also has come from the upper world, from the angelic world, from the heavenly world. And therefore it behaves, of course, angelic and heavenly. And because of its similarity with the human soul, it associates with the soul, and it, through its association with the soul, constantly inspiring the human being with good ideas, good plans, good thoughts, where there is also another creature called devil. It is purely dark, purely cruelty and transgression. So this ugly and dark creature, also because of its similarities with the human ego, it constantly associates with the human ego, and through the human ego, it constantly tempts the human being. It constantly fools the human being, and it constantly misguides the human being. It constantly opposes any inspiration of the angel. Examples would be the human soul having come from the upper world, and the angel, the pure and sacred creature that it is, for example, inspires or prompts the human body to, let's say, honesty. Let's say the person is a salesperson. To honesty and to be honest with his dealings with people, and be fair with his selling and buying with the customers. This is an example. The other force within his body or her body, the ego, and the temptations of the shaitan or devil constantly opposes those good thoughts, and they relentlessly try to deviate this person, this salesperson, with temptations such as, why should you not sell more? Why should you not sell more expensive? Your manager will admire you, and if you don't sell it, how can you make a living, and so on. Another example I would give you, let's say there's a time for, let's say, prayer. The component from the upper world and the angel remind us that, well, you should do a balance between material and spiritual life. You were engaged in, leisure, pleasure. You ate a good meal. You're done with your work. Well, spend few minutes feeding yourself spiritually. Engage in some kind of worship or prayer. This is a thought that they infuse into ourselves. And the person might get inclined to engaging with some type of spiritual activity, or let's say, helping others, some type of volunteer work, immediately the other force, the ego, with the help of devil, contradict these thoughts. It tells you, or they tell the person or tempt the person with thoughts such as, well, today you are tired, maybe you should do it tomorrow, or what's the need for a spiritual work? Why should you do volunteer work? And so on. So there are hundreds of other examples. In general, I should say that our daily life consists of all these types of thoughts. And these type of thoughts get translated into our actions. So in the same way that our thoughts are of two nature, good and bad thoughts, our actions also produce good work or harmful work to our own life and to the society. So now, having briefly explained and having given only two examples, where we should have given more examples, we see that this body experiences such contradiction, such opposing activities, opposing forces.
مذهب زنده دلان خواب پریشانی نیست. از همین خاک جهان دیگری ساختن است. اسرار معرفت هدف زندگی، اسرار معرفت هدف قرآنی، اسرار معرفت خوشبختی دو جهانی.
کله چې انسان له بهشت څخه د ځمکې خاورینې کرې ته راواره او سرګردانه شو، نو له ګڼ شمېر مادي، معنوي، اقتصادي، ټولنیزو، فرهنګي او داسې نورو اړتیاوو سره مخامخ شو
و در جستجوی گمشده‌های فطرت خود تحقیق و تلاش نمود تا گوهرهای گران قیمت خرد و عشق، ایمان و اخلاص، اخلاق و عدالت، شرف و قانون، همزیستی مسالمت آمیز و عروج به ملکوت اعلی را دریابد.
له نیکمرغه د هغو ټولو څېړنو او پلټنو د لاسته راوړنو مجموعه د اسرار معرفت د ارزښتناکه خپرونې په منظمو ډیویډیګانو کې د پیژندل شوي لوړ متفکر او تکړه مبلغ استاد معتصم بالله مذهبي په عارفانه او له شور و زوږ نه ډکو ویناو او خبرو کې له پیل نه تر پایه پورې ترتیب او ځای په ځای شوي دي.
گر ز سر معرفت آگه شوی، لفظ بگذاری و سوی معنا روی. اگر می‌خواهیم به اصل خویش وصل شویم، اگر می‌خواهیم جواهر گم شده گران قیمت وجود خود را دریابیم، اگر می‌خواهیم از نابترین اسرار قرآنی و عرفانی مستفیض شویم، لطفاً به نوار دیویدی ها و سیدی های برنامه های همیشه بهار اسرار معرفت دانشمند اندیشمند استاد معتصم بالله مذهبی مراجعه نمایید و از این همه امتیازات بهره مند شوید. برای سفارش خود لطفاً با ما در امریکا با شماره تلفن 847 305 2806، در کانادا 416 305 4311 و در افغانستان با شماره تلفن 700 260 833 تماس بگیرید. برای سهولت بیشتر بینندگان عزیز، امتیاز فری شیپینگ یا ارسال رایگان با نازل‌ترین قیمت‌ها مد نظر گرفته شده است. با حمایت مالی از برنامه خودتان، اسرار معرفت صاحب اجر دارین شوید. اسرار معرفت خوشبختی دو جهانی.
All right. So the point we are making is here that we discovered that within this body, or in this box of the human body, or beyond the physical body, there exists components or forces that make the human behave the way he behaves, help him exist as a human in the world. But what we saw, that the components that exist within the body and keep the body alive and help the human to engage in this world have come from two opposite origins. And the two creatures, one called angel, the other called devil, are of absolutely opposite origins, have no reconciliation in their relationship. So the point we are making here is that how could an individual expect stability within his or her body? Therefore, as you observe the body itself, the organs, the limbs, the senses, the human knowledge, the human properties, the human social status, are always used one time in a very beneficial and worthy of human status direction, another time in a very shameful, harmful way. And what the human being is expecting of himself is to behave always in a desired way, in a desired manner. In other words, the human is looking for one thing that is called prosperity, happiness, and we call it to have peace of mind, to be able to control oneself, to be able to behave in a way or to be active in a way that he would be happy and others look up to him. But oftentimes the human fails to do so, fails to achieve the so-called happiness and prosperity and peace of mind, because he's unaware that he himself is under the control of his inner forces. And these two forces will relentlessly try to make use of the human body, the human thoughts, the human intelligence, the human resources, the human power in one direction, in the other force in the opposite direction. and also that the angelic creature obviously always tries to move this person in the positive direction, whereas the other creature, devil, will relentlessly try and will never give up to move this person in the opposite and negative direction. So under these circumstances, or I would say once we become aware of what we are and who we are, I would say realistically, one would realize that one would never be able to easily achieve the so-called happiness, prosperity, or peace of mind unless one force has overcome the other. So this is the key. This is the solution. So the solution for achieving the so-called happiness was much, much deeper than the simple ways that usually we think. We think that by having a beautiful house and equipments, perhaps education, perhaps good children, perhaps good husband, wife, and so on, we achieve the so-called happiness, peace of mind, and in other words, stability in our body. Stability in the box of the human body. But now we found out that it is much deeper and it's beyond this. How could you achieve stability, for example, in a country where the two ruling parties are absolutely opposing each other, have 0% in common, or 100% opposing each other? Until and unless one party has fully overcome the other, one force or one party is fully in charge of the country, all over the country. So you might ask at this point that, well, then what about the negative forces of ego and devil overcome the soul and angel? Yes. That would bring a stability as there is in most human beings, unfortunately. But that's a fake and temporary prosperity and stability. The true prosperity, the everlasting prosperity, the prosperity that's beyond our imagination and description, can be achieved once the individual has discovered himself and makes efforts to strengthen the positive forces of soul and angel, and discipline, weaken the negative forces of ego and devil until the positive forces of soul and angel has fully overcome the forces of ego and devil, and that the positive forces, the good forces, the angelic forces, the heavenly forces of soul and angel has fully dominated the territory in this body and are fully in command, fully in charge of the human body. It's at this point that all our organs will be active in a way that will lead to prosperity of mankind and prosperity of oneself. The human intelligence, strength, physical strength, social relationship, you name it, everything. Every single word of that human being will be to the benefit of his other fellow human creatures. This person will be a true human being. This person will be a human that will always move in the right direction and behave in a way that is worth of a human being. Hopefully, we will understand and get a good picture of what's going on within the body. And based on this short but great analysis, we make efforts in resolving this conflict of these forces to our own benefits. That is, helping the positive forces overcome the negative forces. Thank you very much for listening. We will continue our talks next sessions.
قابل توجه هم میهنان گرامی، نهضت اصلاحی علامه فیضانی رحمت الله علیه که طی سالیان متمادی در راستای خدمات و فعالیت‌های محض لله خویش برای بهبود حیات معنوی و مادی جامعه کوشان است، بدین اواخر کمیته خدمات امداد اضطراری خویش برای رفع مشکلات اقتصادی و اجتماعی مردم شریف ما چون حوادث و آفات طبیعی، مقابله با امراض کرونا و سرمای شدید زمستان را در سطح افغانستان عزیز به طور گسترده فعال نموده است. همکاری و معاونت شما عزیزان در این امور خیریه به منظور کمک و دستگیری هم میهنان گرامی در چنین حالات دشوار به طور محض لله یقیناً که موجب خوشنودی خداوند تبارک و تعالی بوده و مسبب خیر و فلاح در زندگی دنیا و عقبی می گردد. خیر الناس من ینفع الناس. بهترین مردم کسانی هستند که خیرشان به مردم می رسد. الحدیث. هموطنان عزیز برای همکاری می توانند به شماره تلفن و ایمیل آدرس ذیل تماس حاصل نمایند.
د علامه فیضانی رحمت الله علیه د فرهنګي مرکزونو خبرتیا. ومن يعمل سوءا او يظلم نفسه ثم يستغفر الله يجد الله غفورا رحیما. الآیه. ترجمه: چا چې یو ناوړ عمل تر سره کړ او تیاره شو نفس دی هغه، بیا یې له خدای جل جلاله څخه بخښنه وغوښتله، پیدا بکړي لوی خدای بخښونکی او ډیر مهربان. د لوی خدای جل جلاله د درگاه په وړاندې په ګران هیواد افغانستان او بهر کې د ټولو وطنوالو ډلهیز استغفار کمپاین په لاره اچول شوی. دغه عمومي بلنه د موقف، مقام او سیمې له توپیره پرته ټول وطنوال د یوه ډلهیز استغفار لوري ته رابولي. موږ په دې باور لرو چې که انسانان له تیریو او ګناهونو پرهیز وکړي او نورو ته لزیان رسولو ډډه وکړي، په یقیني توګه لوی او مهربان خدای جل جلاله به په نوموړي قام او ولس باندې خپل بې پایانه رحمت نازل کړي او د هغوی دنیوي او اخروي ژوند کې به د نیکمرغۍ او سعادت تغییر او بدلون راولي. نو راشئ د استغفار او د الهي رحمت د غوښتلو په واسطه په خپل سرنوشت کې مثبت بدلون رامنځته کړو.
ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين.
این جانب الحاج استاد عبدالمؤمن حقیاب با لبیگویی به دعوت اسلامی و قرآنی کانون فرهنگی علامه فیضانی و نهضت اصلاحی ایشان میخوایم راجع به فضایل استغفار و اهمیت استغفار و نقش استغفار در نجات امتهای سابق و در نجات کشور ما از بحران و بدبختی به مستمعین گرامی و بینندگان محترم عرایض داشته باشم. خداوند متعال فرموده بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم و توبوا الی الله جمیعا ایها المؤمنون لعلکم تفلحون. یعنی ای مؤمنین، ای اهل ایمان، شما به دربار خداوند توبه دست جمعی کنید تا شما رستگار شوید. و ما تاریخ اسلام میبینیم زمانی که از طرف خداوند به واسطه غفلت و گناهکاری بندگان خداوند عذاب خدا نازل شده و امتها سرکش شدید، مثل که حال ما سرکش شدیم. از طرف انبیای وقت، از طرف اولیاء کرام بعد از او دعوت شدیم که ایا به خداوند رجوع بکنن، استغفار بکنن، توبه بکشن. زمانی که لبیک گفتین و توبه کردین، اما بوده که بلای آسمانی دفع شده. امروز مردم افغانستان 40 سال میشه که در آتش بحران و مصیبت و فجایع و مصیبت های جاری میسوزه. نه با ما با اصطلاح آبرو مونده، نه عزت مونده، نه شرف مونده، نه تاریخ مونده، همه پایمال شده. چرا اینطور است؟ خداوند فرموده که و انتم الاعلون ان کنتم مؤمنین، شما اعلاست، در مقام برتر هستی اگر شما مؤمن واقعی باشی. چرا برعکس شده؟ امروز نه تنها افغانستان، کل عالم اسلام در مقام اسفل، در مقام غلامی، در مقام خانه جنگی در مقابل کفار واقع هستند. یهود و نصارا در هر طرف غلبه داره، با دین باطل خود، با دین منسوخ شده و مزخرف خود غلبه داره. چرا؟ معلوم میشه که ما به اصل قرآن، به روح قرآن، بر اصل اسلام ما رجوع نکردیم. ما خطا کردیم، ما غفلت کردیم. بنابراین لازم است که ما بازگشت بکنیم. ما جستجوی راهی که دوباره خداوند ما را ببخشه و مغفرت کنه و ما را دوباره اما عزت از دست رفته را نصیب کنه. ما باید به او رجوع بکنیم. بنابراین یگانه راهی که خداوند ما را ببخشه است که استغفار بکشیم و کل مردم افغانستان را دعوت بکنیم. چی میشه که بعد از نماز شام علمای کرام تشویق بکنن همه مقتدیان نمازخوانان را که بعد از نماز شام تا خفتن با خانواده خود استغفار بکشن، ذکر کثیر بکنن. خداوند گفته یا ایها الذین آمنوا اذکروا الله ذکرا کثیرا. ای اهل ایمان، شما خداوند بسیار ذکر بکنین. ذکر کثیر فکر میکنم 1000 مرتبه حد اقل کثیر است. اگر ما در فامیل خود برای 40 روز 1000 مرتبه ما استغفار بکشیم و همه ملت با انسجام علما به یک زمان، به یک تاریخ، برای 40 روز ما استغفار را دربار خداوند تقدیم کنیم، حتما خداوند ما را نجات میده. 100% ما نجات پیدا میکنیم، هیچ شکی نیست. زمانی که مسلمان‌ها به خاطر استسقا میرن به یک دشت، نماز استسقا میخوانن، دفعتاً باران نازل میشه. اگر ما استسقای معنوی انجام بدیم، کل ملت به دربار خداوند رجوع کنیم، گریه کنیم، زاری کنیم، اما معرفت میگه رو به درگاهش کی آوردی که گشتی ناامید، گر گدا کاهل بود تقصیر صاحب خانه چیست؟ گر خدا یاری کند در کارها، بردمد از خارها گلزارها، بنابراین ما از همه علمای کرام، از همه مردم افغانستان خواهش میکنیم که امی سنت استغفار تشریح کنن، تبلیغ بکنن، فضایلش به مردم بگوین و مردم افغانستان به این اصل فراموش شده رجوع بکنن دوباره. انشاءالله امید داریم که خدا جلو این بحران 40 ساله را، این برادرکشی را، این غلامی را، این وطن فروشی را، این بدنامی اسلام که به واسطه اعمال نادرست ما صورت میگیره، این را بشویه، به آب توبه و استغفار پاک کنه و ما از این عذاب نجات پیدا کنیم. و من الله التوفیق.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. توبوا إلى الله جميعا أيها المؤمنون لعلكم تفلحون. وأيضا عن أنس رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كل بني آدم خطاء خير الخطاؤون التوابون. حضار محترم و عزیز اشتکلر حمدن عبدین تحفه مسنونه سرور کائنات صلی الله علیه وسلم ده به عنوان السلام علیکم و رحمت الله و برکاته حضور لرزگاه تقدیم یتمن. بروز همه بلعبز و متوجب عالم اسلام ده حالگه که عالم اسلام بروز نما حال لگه گرفتار و نما مشکل لگه گرفتار و خصوصا مردم مظلوم بیچاره افغانستان بروز کرب تربز نما سختی لگه و نما بدبختی لگه سربچار ده. دوران رسول اکرم صلی الله علیه و سلم که با وجودی که قرآن تکمیلیه مسده و احادیث همچنان و دین قلت که ایده، گرچه صحابه‌لر ایستادن کم تعداد اگر باسواد بگنده اکثریت بی سواد ایده، او در نما حالگر نما رشدگه و نما پیشرفت ترقیگه ایده. بروز قرآن تکمیل چندین قسم تفاصیلر بروز تیار بولگن و علم نهایتیگه پیشرفت کلگن، اما باز هم بروز مسلمانلر آواره ده، مسلمانلر بیچاره ده، مسلمانلر وز عرصیگه وحدت یا اتفاق یا همدردی و همسودی یا بربرگه اعتماد یا آیا گفت نمده، سخن نمده. بلعبز که شیطان دشمن مسلمان دشمن انسان ده، نفس دشمن انسان ده و بون نفس شیطان بروز خصوصا عالم اسلام و خصوصا مردم افغانستان دست دیگه غالب بولگن، همه میلنه، محبتنه، علاقستنه، بیدلی یولیگه و طور دنیا عیش نوشیگه خراب کشلگن. اصل حقیقت مردم دو آلوزن خالب کن وقتی که مردم خدا رضاسنه قلدن برسه و حکم قرآن و حکم احادیثن پیداولی اگر قن مسه بروزدن هم روزلر بد بلاده، مشکللرگه موندن هم اضافه سردچار بلاده. بهتر شده که مسلمانلر فاصله آسن بدبخلیدن، فاصله آسن به اصطلاح و نفس و شیطان ده تاکتیک لردن، خداگه قرب خواستن، خداگه قرب بارسن، رجوع قسن، توبه قسن، تضرع قسن. بس او وقت که انشالله بو تارک لیلک و ترلب، بو بدبخت لیلک و ترلب و بر روز استبزگه کلب قاسن که همه با هم برادر بولب و بر صمیمی بولب با محبت و بر آغوش که آلب و بر جا که ترکلی قلرگه امکانه بار بدون توبه امکانی ها، چون که هر نسانه حلنه الله وزه قویم کتابه گه شکر آن باقی و دائمی ده و من احکام همیشه تازه ده. شکر آن پس بزدگه یول کرسته ای مردم دیده، ای مسلمان دیده، مسلمانلر دیده، بروز سلا که بدبخت بولف سلر، بدبختی که قرب کتب سلر، دین یولیدن فاصله آلف سلر، پس سلر دوست درزگه الله نه غضب های گوناگونه روز بروز نازل بولف ترفته و روز بروز موندن هم شاید امکان بود اضافه بسه. وقتی که غضب خدا نمدن کریکن، مانشو بی بندبال لیدن کریکن، عیاش لیدن کریکن، دنیا پرستی و قدرت پرستی بونشلتن کریکن، پس بلر هم بی ارزش بی اهمیت کن بلب تر بد وقتی که بی ارزش بی اهمیت اینه بلسای پس موندن قاش سای نمگه خدا رضا سنخت سای. خدانه رضاسه قچن قلگه که درکن توبه دست جمعی منم که درکن توبو الی الله جميعا ایها المؤمنون لعلكم تفلحون. الله وزیر رحمانی قلب قویبته، الله وزیر آیت قویبته که سلا به دست جمعی توبه کرین و تضرع کرین و منگه رجوع کرین. وقتی که الله اگر رجوع کسای الله توبه بزد قبل خیلی بسه آیا الله نه آلدگه نمه سختی لبار هیچ سختی وقتی که بزنده بود تارک بیدن چقدر بر روشنلیکه که طرف و پیروزی و کامیابلیکه که طرف مندسه آلدگه آنی و پانی و پاوریده و قطر زدن بر زحمت لیده که بزن نمه کسای توبه گر رجوع کسای. و همچنان حضرت انس روایت قدر رسول اکرم صلی الله علیه وسلم من رسول الله صلی الله علیه وسلم ایت ادلت هر بنی آدم که دنیا گوار خطا کننده ده، خطا قلده، خامخا گناه اونن سر رده. بهترین خطاکار، بهترین گناهکار وشه کسی لره که دیده کودر نمه قلده توبه رجوع قلده. بروز خیگن اشتباسنه یه تگه قوی میده دفتن رجوع قلده توبه. وقتی که بزنه واقعا راه حل همه مشکل در توبه کن، توبه که دست زمین بلسه بود توبه بعضی لان دعا قبول بشه وشانه گل رویدن همه دعا قبول بلاره کن. وقتی دعا قبول بلده الله راضی بلاره کن، الله راضی بلده همه مشکل حل کن. آسان طریقه نو الله رحمانی قلب قویگن من باید متوجه برستی که آخر که نهضت علامه سید فیضاندان تشکلی قلب که و پرسانه یلگه تایلا قلب واقعا و پرسای کامیاب ته و پرسادن هر کم به اصطلاح و پرسگار که همکار بگیری بسه و توبه خراب رجوع بگیری بسه هم انشالله سبب کامیابی لرده و درونه نفتگه به علما هم همکار بسه به خاطر بوده که راه حل شیعه کنده و وقتی که الله وزه تضمین قیام بسه و هیچ منه هیچ شک تردید یا و ما علینا الا البلاغ.
Asia is a body of water and clay, of which the Afghan nation forms the heart. In this poem, Allama Iqbal Rahmatullah Alayhi realized the importance of Afghanistan in the region, on which the stability of Asia is dependent. He realized that Asia is like the human body, and the Afghan nation is the beating heart of that body. Greetings, dear viewers. Asrar Marifat on Payam Afghan TV honorably takes the initiative to broadcast a pre-recorded conference by Faizani International in remembrance of His Eminence Maulana Faizani's scholarly contributions to the world of Islam and humanity. This is a landmark occasion, and we are overjoyed that you, our respected viewers, are here with us for this momentous occasion and celebration. Dear viewers, each year, Faizani International unites to commemorate the exemplary life of His Eminence Maulana Faizani. His Eminence Maulana Faizani was a preeminent spiritual leader, political activist, freedom fighter, thinker, philosopher, and an altruistic Afghan servant of Almighty Allah, a champion of the people and a real role model for all of Afghanistan. His Eminence Maulana Faizani wrote 51 volumes of books comprising spirituality, politics, economics, philosophy, and religion. During the 1960s and 70s, His Eminence Maulana Faizani was seen as a threat to the status quo in Afghanistan and was arrested numerous times for his writings and defiance. In prison, he endured unfathomable treatment and torture. He was severely abused in jail, but he still managed to write many exceptional works urging Afghans and humanity to come together for peace, love, unity, and freedom. His Eminence Maulana Faizani's legacy is not forgotten. The continuation of his teachings live through and are strongly supported in Afghanistan and other countries by his schools, cultural centers, and run by his students. The viewers of Asrar Marifat are familiar with our tradition of broadcasting the speeches of many scholars, professors, and the students of His Eminence Maulana Faizani on both national and international media. Through these conferences, Asrar Marifat helps the world learn ever more about the impeccable personality and teachings of Maulana Faizani. At this time, Asrar Marifat would like to play a pre-recorded live conference event that was held on February 29, 2020 in the beautiful city of Chicago, Illinois, and sponsored by Faizani International. The conference theme was Knowing Oneself, Knowing God. We as Afghans at Asrar Marifat are proud of the conference event in Chicago and the milestone it attained. The conference exemplifies how His Eminence Maulana Faizani's teachings could unify and uplift a diverse group of individuals to work for peace, love, and the common good for all. Despite the never-ending trials and tribulations that we as Afghans have collectively faced, we are thankful that the enlightening teachings of His Eminence Maulana Faizani have crossed the oceans and have reached and illuminated the hearts of truth-seeking people in the United States of America. We hope you'll be inspired by the Maulana Faizani Conference in Chicago and the many admiring messages it contains. Also, we hope that our youth who live in North America notice this fellowship, join their studies and discussions, and grow in their wisdom and joy. In the words of Sadi, Rahmatullah alayhi, follow the path of good and free people. Let the youth adopt the path of the free-spirited and virtuous personalities. Choose a lifestyle based on divine love, mysticism, honesty, and everlasting sincerity.